There's something inside you the world was never supposed to see until now. You've always known, felt it in your bones, heard it in the silence. That quiet whisper that echoed louder than the noise of the world. Not everyone heard it. Not everyone could, because it wasn't meant for them. It was meant for you. Even as a child, you felt it. The ache of not belonging. The sense that your soul had signed a contract long before your body arrived, a divine assignment sealed in spirit and carried quietly through every season of your life. You tried to explain it, that feeling of watching even while being present, of knowing things before they happened, of feeling everything too much, too deep, too soon. But they didn't understand, so you stopped trying. You silenced your truth, dimmed your light, folded your wings to fit their version of normal. But your soul never forgot. It waited, inside the womb of silence, under the sacred veil of delay, growing stronger in the stillness. You see, this was never about being broken. It was about being buried for safekeeping, because God doesn't plant his most powerful seeds in plain sight. He hides them in places no man can touch, no enemy can steal, no storm can uproot. And you are one of them. You were not created for crowds. You were crafted for kingdoms. You weren't trained in the spotlight. You were trained in the shadows. You've spent years walking through the wilderness of uncertainty, carrying a light you didn't yet understand, a gift you couldn't yet name, a power too holy to be revealed too soon. But just because you couldn't see it, doesn't mean it wasn't there. It was there when you cried alone in the dark, when your heart broke in secret, when your voice trembled in silence. It was always there, that knowing, that divine ache, that sacred fire beneath your pain. You are not ordinary. You were born with divine fingerprints. All over your DNA, you were marked, not with ink or titles, but with purpose. And every moment of feeling different was just your spirit trying to remind you were never meant to fit in. You were sent to stand out. The heaviness you've carried, that wasn't weakness. It was the weight of a world your gift was designed to lift. The confusion, that wasn't your failure. It was your preparation. You've been stretched, pressed, overlooked, and underestimated. Not because you're small, but because what's inside you is so big. The world wasn't ready. But now it is. Because something is shifting. The veil is thinning. The old world is cracking. And the very thing you've been hiding is what the world is starving to see. That gift, that light, that whisper inside you is about to become a roar. You are not waking up to something new. You are remembering what you've always carried. You are chosen. You are called. You are anointed for impact. This pain you walked through, it wasn't punishment. It was the preparation room of power. You will rise, because you were never meant to fall. And when the world finally sees you, really sees you, they won't just witness a person. They will witness prophecy fulfilled, because your silence wasn't weakness. It was sacred strategy. Your delay wasn't denial. It was divine gestation. And now the contraction is here. Now the labor begins. Now the birth is near. You are not behind. You are right on time. And this is where your true awakening begins. There was a season when your phone stopped ringing. The laughter disappeared. The energy in every room began to shift, and not in your favor. You watched connections dissolve like mist in the morning light. People you trusted vanished. Family became distant. The ones who said forever didn't even say goodbye. And you sat in that silence, wondering if it was your fault. Wondering why your heart felt heavier by the day, wondering why the world seemed to shrink until it was just you and the echoes of your own thoughts. But hear me now, that silence was not abandonment, it was alignment. You weren't being punished, you were being protected. You see, when God places something sacred inside someone, He doesn't leave it exposed. He guards it, He covers it, He hides it. You were set apart, not because you were unworthy of love, but because your soul was too sacred for counterfeits. Every friendship that faded was pruning. Every cold room you entered was preparation. Every time you felt left out, Was heaven pulling you ahead? You weren't being forgotten. You were being forged. Forged in fire. Forged in stillness. Forged in the holy solitude where divine assignments are written in light. That pain in your chest when someone you loved walked away, it wasn't just heartbreak. It was spiritual surgery. God was removing attachments that would have strangled the mission you've been called to carry. Because not everyone can go where you are being sent. Not everyone is meant to walk beside destiny. Some people were placed in your story, not to stay, but to stir, to awake, to teach, then release. You begged to be seen, to be heard, to be held, but instead you were placed in rooms where your soul screamed in silence, and still you survived it. No, you didn't just survive, you evolved. Because isolation for the chosen one is not exile, it's activation. Think of the caterpillar, no longer crawling but not yet flying. Where does it go? Into the cocoon, a silent chamber, a sacred transformation. That's what your solitude was. Not punishment, but the womb of rebirth. And even when your heart cried, "Why doesn't anyone understand me?" Heaven whispered, "Because you weren't meant to be understood. You were meant to be obeyed by destiny." The rejection, that was redirection. The loneliness, that was leadership in disguise. The loss was making space for the legacy. And those who walked away, they weren't equipped to stand beside your rising light. Their exit wasn't your failure. It was divine filtration. God cleared the room before he crowned you with purpose. Because if he didn't, you might have invited your Judas to sit at the same table as your resurrection. You've been walking through shadows, but you've been glowing the whole time. Your radiance was just hidden beneath layers of grief and grief-shaped armor. And that tear-streaked pillar, that floor where you curled up in defeat, that moment where you whispered, "God, I can't do this anymore," that was the altar, the holy ground, the birthplace of the warrior within you. Don't curse your isolation. It was hope. Don't regret the departure of those who couldn't love you at your depth. They were tourists. Your soul requires residence, and only God assigns who gets to stay. You are chosen. You are not too sensitive. You were spiritually encoded. You were not too intense. You were carrying kingdom frequency. You were not overlooked. You were overshadowed by God's hand. And when heaven covers you, the world can't find you until the time is right. You were being hidden until the moment your gift could no longer be silenced. You weren't being delayed. You were being developed in dimensions unseen. And now the shadows are parting. Now the silence is cracking. Now the version of you that the world never saw coming is stepping out of the cocoon. With wings made of storms you survived. With eyes that see through illusion. With a voice sharpened by silence. You are not broken. You are becoming. You are being led by unseen hands into the very fire that would reveal your flame. Every lonely night was God whispering, "Stay with me. I'm not done with you yet." And now you're realizing you weren't forgotten, you were fortified. You weren't rejected, you were redirected. You weren't abandoned, you were anointed in private to be revealed in power. And this is where your true awakening begins. You've always known, even if you couldn't explain it. Even if the world called it weird. Even if your own family tried to silence it. There was something inside you that didn't match this world. Because you weren't made to blend in. You were made to break the mold. You were chosen. The signs were always there. Subtle to some, but to your soul. Loud. Obvious. Sacred. Let's remember them now, not as coincidences, but as confirmations. Repeating numbers found you, not the other way around. 1111, 444, 777, 33. They weren't just numbers, they were spiritual timestamps, codes, confirmations, proof that heaven was speaking, long before you had the language to listen. You didn't force them, they followed you. Billboards, clocks, license plates, receipts, over and over again, until your soul whispered, "This means something." And it did. You weren't imagining patterns. You were aligned with prophetic sequence. Because chosen ones don't stumble through life. They are guided by signs. 2. Your dreams were more than dreams. There were nights you saw things before they happened. Events, conversations, warnings. You'd wake up and days later it would unfold exactly as you saw it. You shrugged it off, told yourself it was just déjà vu. But that wasn't coincidence, it was clarity. You were seeing what others couldn't. You weren't dreaming. You were receiving. You are a seer. A soul connected to the unseen realms. Heaven has been speaking to you in symbols and stories, long before the world took you seriously. 3. You felt everything too much. A sad song could wreck your spirit. A stranger's pain would become your own. You'd walk into a room and feel tension before anyone said a word. People told you, you're too sensitive. You overthink too much. You feel too much. But they didn't understand. Your soul wasn't fragile. It was finely tuned. You weren't overreacting. You were spiritually receptive. You carried the weight of emotions that didn't even belong to you because you were born to help others unload theirs. This wasn't weakness, it was your divine wiring. You were born with a heart big enough to hold the broken. 4. You were the outcast. Even in your own house. You were the black sheep, the misunderstood one, the rebel, the quiet one, the watcher. They didn't get you. They mocked your depth, dismissed your silence, rejected your intuition. But that rejection wasn't punishment. It was preservation. You were too sacred to be buried in their projections, too awakened to stay stuck in their system. You weren't meant to fit. You were meant to free. That discomfort you carried in your own family. It was your soul remembering a truth too big to be contained in small minds and shallow expectations. 5. You always helped others, even when you were hurting. Strangers opened up to you. Friends leaned on you. You held everyone's secrets, while silently drowning in your own pain. You were the healer, before you even knew you needed healing. Even with nothing left to give, you gave peace. Even when broken, you built others back up. Why? Because your pain had a purpose. It carved out compassion. It unlocked empathy. It turned you into a safe space. You became what you never had. That's not weakness. That's warrior energy. You are chosen. You are the vessel of comfort for those still searching for home. 6. You had wisdom beyond your years. Even as a child, you saw through the noise. You asked questions that made adults uncomfortable. You sensed lies. You sniffed out masks. You spoke truths that made people flinch. You didn't learn wisdom. You carried it. It wasn't taught. It was remembered. Because your soul has lived lifetimes. Your knowing came from beyond this one. And people sensed it. Some were drawn to it. Others were intimidated by it. But all of them felt it. You didn't just think differently. You vibrated differently. 7. Your energy walked in before you did. Have you noticed? People turn when you enter a room. Not because of how you look, but because of what you carry. Your aura is not subtle. It's a thunderclap in a whispering world. People either love you or they fear you. But no one ever forgets you. You don't need to speak to make an impact. Your presence says what your mouth never needs to. That's because you are marked. Marked with power. Marked with light. Marked with divine fire. And that energy, it can't be faked. It can't be copied. It was assigned to you. You are chosen. You are encoded. You are a divine disruption to this world's illusion. So now, do you still believe you were random? Do you still question why you've always felt too different, too deep, too alone? You weren't odd. You were activated. A spiritual alarm clock in a world still sleeping. Every sign you ignored was a seed of your becoming. Every weird thing about you was a whisper from heaven saying, wake up. You've always been mine. And this is where your true awakening begins.
You've always felt it. A pull. A knowing. A quiet current running beneath your everyday life. But for so long, you didn't understand what it was. Because life tried to bury it. People tried to silence it. Pain tried to erase it. But your gift was never gone. Just hidden, like a diamond buried in dust. Still valuable.
still powerful, just waiting to be remembered. You were born carrying something holy, not something earned, not something taught, but something infused into your spirit by divine design. You didn't stumble into this world unarmed. You came with a blueprint, a calling, a gift that the world was never supposed to understand, only feel, and they did feel it. That's why they looked at you with awe or confusion. That's why some were drawn to you and others felt the need to tear you down, because the light you carry makes shadows uncomfortable. There were moments when your gift tried to introduce itself, but the world misnamed it. You thought you were just good at listening, when really, you carried healing frequencies in your silence. You thought you were just too sensitive, when really, you were tuned into divine intuition. You thought you were overthinking, but you were actually receiving downloads from the spirit. You thought you were being dramatic, too emotional, too different, but that was your soul remembering its assignment. The enemy hoped you'd label it as weakness, because if you saw the truth, if you called it power instead of pain, you'd become unstoppable. Let's go back. Think about how people always opened up to you. Strangers telling you their life story, friends confessing secrets they've never told anyone. That wasn't coincidence. That was your field. Your energy felt safe. Your presence activated healing. You didn't ask for it. You didn't train for it. It simply was. Because your gift didn't start the day you noticed it. It started the day you were born. Or maybe it showed up in your creativity. The poems you wrote that carried more truth than your mouth ever could. The drawings that held pain no one ever saw. The stories you imagined that somehow predicted things before they happened. That wasn't just talent. It was a sacred portal. You were speaking the language of the divine before you could even understand its grammar. Or maybe your gift came in the form of spiritual instinct. You felt people's intentions before they spoke. You knew when something is off. You sensed the storm before the sky even turned. And people called you paranoid, crazy, dramatic. But your spirit was sounding the alarm. Because chosen ones don't get regular warnings. They get divine ones. You weren't crazy. You were connected. You weren't emotional. You were empathic. You weren't broken. You were blessed with vision others didn't carry. And yet, they convinced you to suppress it, to shrink, to second guess, to numb the parts of you that made them uncomfortable. Because the world doesn't know what to do with someone who carries light from another dimension. But your gift was never meant to be understood. It was meant to be released. And now it's waking up. Can you feel it? That inner stirring, that quiet rising. It's not new, it's ancient. The same power that kept you alive when you were at your lowest. That gave you peace when everything was falling apart. That whispered, keep going when no one else did. That was your gift. And this is why the enemy fought you so hard. Because he saw it. Before you, he saw the fire in you. Before you knew you were flammable. He saw the impact in you. Before you knew you were called. He saw the anointing on your life before you ever felt worthy of it. That's why you were targeted, attacked, overlooked, rejected, mocked. Not because you were weak, but because your gift was dangerous. To darkness. The enemy hoped the trauma would bury it. The betrayal would kill it. The shame would silence it. But what he forgot is that diamonds form under pressure. Gold is refined in fire. Weapons are forged in heat. So every painful thing you went through, it didn't destroy your gift. It sharpened it. And now it's time to reclaim it. No more hiding. No more doubting. No more calling it weird or too much. Your gift is sacred. Your intuition is a compass. Your presence is medicine. Your voice is a trumpet. Your creativity is a portal. Your calling is not a suggestion. It is a divine appointment. You are chosen. You are marked. You are gifted. Not tomorrow. Not one day. Now. And this is where your true awakening begins. You thought things would get easier after the awakening. That once your gift was revealed, the resistance would fade. But instead, the pressure multiplied. Why? Because your light was no longer hiding, and darkness cannot ignore what shines too loud. You didn't just step into purpose, you stepped onto a battlefield. The moment you remembered who you are, The enemy remembered too, because you don't get attacked for where you are, you get attacked for who you're becoming. The anxiety, the depression, the emotional chaos that showed up out of nowhere, the relationships that turned toxic overnight, the spiral of self-doubt, the sudden fear of your own voice. None of it was random. It was a spiritual assault. The enemy couldn't take your gift, so he tried to make you question it. He whispered lies like, "You're not ready, you're too broken, you'll never be enough, no one will understand you." But those weren't your thoughts. They were spiritual darts, and your mind became the battlefield. You weren't weak, you were under siege, because what you carry is not casual, it's cosmic. You're not just talented, you're anointed, and the weight of your mission has always attracted warfare, not because you're failing, but because you're rising. Let's talk about those moments, the silent nights where your chest felt heavy, but you didn't know why, the panic attacks that came during peaceful times, the sense that you were being watched, the way people suddenly turned against you with no reason, the way your joy was stolen seconds after you found peace. These weren't coincidences. They were spiritual confrontation, because when your energy began to rise, everything that once tolerated you had to choose evolve or exit. You started noticing things, you saw through the lies, you felt people's energy shift around you, you began pulling away from things that once felt like home, and in doing so, you triggered everything and everyone still tied to lower vibrations. But this wasn't about them, it was about you. You were being purified through pressure, refined in fire, sharpened in silence, tested for the truth, because only the worthy can carry the weight of divine assignment. Yes, it hurt, the betrayal, the breakdowns, the mental torment, but all of it was fire training. The kind of fire that doesn't burn you, it builds you. The kind of spiritual warfare that doesn't destroy your identity, it activates it. You weren't losing control, you were losing attachments to your old self. That version of you that doubted, that begged for love, that dimmed your light to stay accepted. That version couldn't survive the next level, so the universe gave you a war to make sure you left them behind. You were not cursed, you were calibrated, you were not abandoned, you were assigned, and every hit you took was shaping the armor of a spiritual warrior. You've walked through fire and still carry light in your eyes. You've been betrayed and still keep your heart open. You've been silenced and still choose to speak truth. That's not survival, that's divine resilience. They tried to bury you in fear, but fear became fuel. They tried to drown you in doubt, but doubt made you dig deeper into your faith. The enemy didn't realize that everything meant to break you was building something unshakable. Your light now holds weight, your words now carry fire, your presence shifts atmosphere, your scars now shine like prophecy. Because what you went through was never about punishment, it was preparation. You were never under attack because you were weak, you were under attack because you were dangerous to the darkness. And now something is shifting. You're no longer triggered by the same traps. You don't beg to be understood anymore. You don't shrink to stay liked. You don't explain your boundaries, because this battle taught you who you are. And now, you walk with knowing, you speak with clarity, you carry peace like a sword. This is the becoming. This is the version of you the enemy feared from the start. They thought the trauma would silence you. They thought the fear would cage you. They thought the delays would defeat you. But instead, you became unshakable, because what they didn't see coming was your rise. You are not just awakening, you are activating. You are not just healing, you are harmonizing heaven and earth with your presence. You are not just remembering, you are embodying. Your gift is no longer hidden. Your truth is no longer soft. Your presence is no longer passive. You are chosen, you are tested, you are ready. And this is where your true awakening begins. There comes a moment when the fear no longer fits, when shrinking no longer serves you, when dimming your light starts to feel like betrayal, not to others, but to your own soul. That moment is now, because this is not the version of you that questions your worth. This is the version that remembers your assignment. You don't ask for permission to shine anymore. You radiate truth because it's who you are. You don't explain your light, you embody it. Your voice carries a new weight now. It no longer trembles with doubt. It flows with clarity, conviction, and divine frequency. You used to whisper truth in fear. Now you speak it like thunder. You used to wonder if anyone could feel your energy. Now your energy walks into the room before you do. You are no longer just awakening, you're activating. You're not just dreaming anymore. You're doing. Because you've realized the pain didn't kill your gift. It sharpened it. The betrayal didn't break you. It built boundaries. The isolation didn't destroy you. It built intimacy with God. You don't follow frequency anymore. You set it. You don't mirror energy. You shift it. You don't chase love, you radiate it. Because now your soul has stepped into command. This is the version of you that doesn't beg for purpose. You walk in it. You're not waiting for a sign, you are the sign. You're not trying to fit in anymore. You know you were born to stand out. Your gift is no longer a mystery to you. You've started to notice the way people lean in when you speak, the way strangers open up around you, the way your words land exactly where they need to, even if you didn't plan it. That's not random, that's not luck. That's divine assignment in action. You are the healer others prayed for. You are the truth that shakes someone else awake. You are the light sent into spaces where darkness thought it had won. You don't just carry power, you are power, wrapped in skin. You've stopped doubting what's inside you, because you've seen what it does in the world. You speak, and people remember who they are. You show up and rooms shift. Your aura is no longer hidden, it's magnetic. Not for ego, but because it's time. It's time to lead, time to build, time to step forward. Not someday, not soon, but now. You didn't walk through fire just to sit in silence. You didn't break cycles just to stay small. The version of you that survived the storm is the one the world has been waiting for. The attacks didn't break you, they built authority. The wounds didn't end your mission. They opened it. Because the battle was never about destroying you, it was about distracting you from this moment. You used to question your path, now every step feels divinely orchestrated. You used to feel alone in your calling, now you realize your ancestors, angels, and the divine have always walked with you. You're no longer asking why me, you're declaring of course me. Because who better to carry this light than the one who was forged in shadow? Who better to speak truth than the one who was silenced? Who better to lift others than the one who had to rise alone? This is not ego, this is your spirit remembering. This is not delusion, this is divine remembrance. You were hidden to be prepared. You were overlooked to be preserved. You were isolated to be ignited. And now your gift is no longer dormant, it's deployed. Your light is no longer waiting, it's walking. Your soul is no longer whispering, it's declaring. This is your assignment. This is why the enemy fought you so hard. This is why the delay was so long. This is why you had to walk alone, because what's inside you wasn't meant to be small, safe, or silent. It was meant to shake the world. You are chosen, you are aligned, you are anointed. The time is now. And this is where your true awakening begins. You always knew this moment would come. Not because you saw the signs, but because your soul remembered the prophecy. You've walked through fire that should have consumed you. You've endured silence that should have broken you. You've sat in rooms where your light was too big to be understood. And now the wait is over. Heaven has spoken. The veil is lifting. And the world is about to see what God already knew. Every year you spent hidden was not delay, it was design. Every night you cried alone wasn't punishment, it was positioning. Every person who walked away wasn't loss, it was refinement. You weren't being overlooked, you were being overshadowed by divine glory too powerful to reveal prematurely. Because what's inside of you was never meant for early applause, it was meant for eternal impact. They counted you out. But God counted every tear. They said you were too sensitive, too strange, too slow. But heaven said, this one is chosen. Your silence wasn't weakness, it was spiritual warfare. Your stillness wasn't stagnation, it was sacred strategy. And the pain you carried like a secret, that pain was the soil where your power grew roots. You've emerged, not loud, not flashy, but undeniable. You don't need to announce your return, your presence speaks louder than your past. You don't need revenge. Your rise is the revelation. You don't need validation. Your anointing is the answer. You are no longer the one waiting to be seen. You are the sun. The world will ask, where did you come from? How did you rise so fast? What changed? And the answer will not be a story, it will be your existence. Because you are the story. You are the evidence that light cannot be buried, that truth cannot be silent, that destiny cannot be denied. They thought you were behind, but God was just working in a different dimension. They thought they buried you, but you were never underground. You were in the womb of divine development. They thought you were forgotten, but you were in the hand of the Creator, waiting for the time called now, and that time, it's here, right now. You're not stepping into your season. You are the season. You are the shift, the frequency, the breaker of patterns, the answer to a generation's spiritual drought. You are not just marked. You are moving in miracles. So walk like you carry heaven in your chest, because you do. Speak like every word is a trumpet from the divine, because it is. Move like the earth has been waiting for your obedience, because you were not created to survive. You were created to shift the spiritual climate. Your voice carries vibration. Your steps carry oil. Your heart carries healing, and your journey carries proof. You are not broken. You are born of fire. You are not hidden. You were held until heaven said, now. You are not rising. You have already risen. This is no longer preparation. This is performance. This is not prophecy pending. This is prophecy fulfilled. This is not the version of you that wonders. This is the version that whispers, watch. And as you rise, those who once ignored you will listen. Those who doubted you will reflect. Those who left you will wonder how the one they overlooked became the one everyone now sees. But you won't need to prove anything, because your glow will say it all. The world will see your fruit, but heaven saw your root. And now, they will meet the one who was hidden in silence, forged in sacred fire, and crowned in divine timing. This is the revelation they never expected, but the one God always planned. And this is where your true revelation begins.
These two videos on your screen aren't random. The divine guides them. Click to watch both. They hold something special for you.